kids anything like ghosts or anything like that, because they don't have parents will feel about that, you know. So they used to get this candy in there, kids at home cold, so home chattering on the phone. And when you had the door open, and I was leaning against the door still, little girl, and this is before we had the upstairs fixed, it was still off limits. When we go up there, we could take people up there and have to lose money, and kids go up there and think it was just bare up there, you know, just junk. And the little girl walked up here, and I said, "Hi, how are you?" She said, "Oh, fine." She walked here, she looked up the stairs, and she looked at me and said, "You have ghosts in here." And I said, "Oh, yeah, yes, she do." She said, "I'm leaving." And she took off. She didn't hear anything, she no, she said, "I'm leaving." And she ran out of here and went and got the car. I was just waiting for some irate mother to come and say, "Why'd you tell me?" But, you know, she did. She just stopped dead and just looked up, and she saw something. And there was nothing up there, because we didn't allow anybody up there at the time, and that's what had roped off.
Yeah, we had it roped off.
Because we didn't want anybody to go up there. Because there was nothing up there but ladders and bricks and stuff like that. But that, I thought that was interesting. She's probably about 6, 7 years old, something like that. You know, kids, yeah, we kind of lose it when we get older. Yeah, that we think different.
We've had kids in here at different times, because there's things that go on in here all the time, you know, plays or music or, you know, first one thing or another. And one of our directors, I think it was our second director, there was one girl's little boy, he was here, and he told the director, he said, "I don't like you, neither do those two little girls upstairs." And so we've had reports of twin girls seen in the building and the front yard. So it not only goes on at night, it goes on, it goes on in the daytime too. This is one of the places we've heard a cat. We've heard a cat in all parts of the building, so don't be surprised, you know, wherever you hear it, if you hear it. And it seems like most everybody does. You want to tell them about your daily experience?
We have no lives, so we come here and play all the time. We get our own building to go tent, you know, I can do whatever we want. He was in the gift room, office, whatever, and he and Eddie, one of our team members, he's not with us today, but anyway, we were coming through here, and this door was closed. There's no doorknob in there, because I don't know why, I guess.
They took doors on that.
And so he said, "Let's go in this room," you know, I said, "Okay." So he got this far, and he reached for the doorknob, of course, it wasn't anything, and he felt cold air just rush through it. And he felt like that, you know, and you could hear somebody going all the way to the other end. And we just stood there and looked at each other, and I'm not going to tell you what we said after it was nice. And she said, "Didn't you know this?" He said, "Well." So he opened the door like this, and we went in, and there was nothing there. But what they had displayed in there of like toys and doll clothes and baby clothes and stuff like that. And the woman who runs the museum, she said that at that time, that room was very active because of those clothes and the toys and the clothing there. Because, I mean, it was really old stuff. But you could, it even vibrated the floor. And when we done that whole game, was that you? Was that you? Was that you? Because, you know, it just, you could hear it going on with him. And it was really, it was cool.
And that was not a headstone. So that's the old capstone off the building. The room that we just came out of, there's been activity in there too. Not too awfully long ago, Eddie, who's normally here with us, came to a board meeting here, and they had left and were standing around in the parking lot talking, and of course the building was all locked up, the alarm was going, and one of the ladies said, "I left my keys inside." Eddie said, "I'll go in and get them." Well, the door between the gift shop and this room was closed. All the lights were out. He come in and pushed the alarm, you know, turned the alarm on, and he said just as he got to that door, it opened. And opened all the way. He thought, shit. He said, "I looked, and her keys were all the way at the other end of the room." And he said, "I started through there," and he said, "Everything kept telling me look left, look left. He said, I wouldn't visit. I looked right straight ahead. I ran, grabbed those keys, and back out. And his wife was out in the parking lot. She said he come out there and he was just as white as a sheet, you know, he was freaked out. And she said, what happened? So she told him, and we have played with that door, and it will open part of the way, but I don't care what you do, it will not open all the way. And he said, it clicked, and all the way. I went back down to see if I could find it.
I'll tell the story, you go get it.
But there are times that we come in, you know, usually we get here before anybody does, and we'll come in and it's either real creepy or it's not. So, I can't.
You were creepy tonight? I thought I heard my name a little while ago.
And I thought I heard footsteps before anybody, we just came in and hadn't been here.
Yeah, we heard footsteps when we first came in.
Well, so, I don't know. Hopefully it'll be a little active. Is there anything else in this room? I don't think so. We'll go in this room. I don't know where all
Yeah, be careful.
You know I'm horrible at this, right?
Anybody falling and getting hurt. We don't need any more spirits in the building.
No, that's right.
We'll take care of it. Or we'll come back and do it.
This is a cool room.
Is that everybody?
I think there's somebody over in the Smith room, I think.
Okay. Really not the only thing that's ever happened in this room other than Tracy and Eddie's experience with the footsteps. And one of the first years, I think it might have been the very first year that we started doing tours here. We started over in the Smith room just like you all did tonight and went to the hallway, and then we came in here and we were 10 minutes into the tour or whatever it was. And everybody that came into the room, all their battery-powered equipment went dead at the same time. And everybody was going, I just charged this up before we left home, or I put new batteries in it before we left. There was one couple here that had come up from Waverly, and they had the digital thermometer with a laser pointer on it, and went dead. They said, we put batteries in this before we left home. So finished the tour, they left, went over to Casey's or Walmart or someplace, bought new batteries, came back, paid for a second tour, and as soon as they hit this room, their batteries, brand new batteries were dead. That's the only time it's happened all at once. And there's been a few cases of it happening in different parts, but it was just one piece of equipment or, you know, it's never happened. But I mean, that night, everybody's died when they walked into this room.
How weird.
So, like I said, other than that, that's,
Yeah, not a whole lot happens.
there's not a lot that goes on in this room. We'll go back out in the hallway and we're gonna go upstairs.
Okay.
That upstairs that way or this way?
Well, we're gonna go up this front staircase.
Well, because while you were standing there talking at first, there was some kind of energy pulling me to that back.
Back staircase?
Yes.
Okay.
Like the whole time you were talking, this lady's like, you know,
Well,
letting me walk up there.
We've got an EVP on that back staircase that I didn't play for you.
Like the whole time, like she's just like, I feel like she's hitting me on my shoulder, like come here, you know, like that's how I feel.
Okay. I'm hoping you. I'm gonna go get my flashlight real quick.
Now, we'll warn you, there are mannequins
I think I'll sit here the rest of the
Did everybody?
No, there's somebody that's coming.
This room is notorious for women being hugged. We had a woman and her husband in here one night, and she said she felt like her husband walked up and put his arm around her waist. When she turned to say something to him, He was 8 or 10 feet away from him. That kind of freaked her out. There was a little girl, where you got to tell that story.
We had a little girl here, and she kept going to her mom, just kind of getting her close to her, and I said, is she okay? And she said, oh yeah, she'll be all right. And she just kept getting closer and closer to her mom. She says, I said, we can take her out. And she said, no, she'll be all right. She says she sees something. I said, well, okay. And when you looked at her, you could see this little, like, gray, I don't know, odd-shaped thing, kind of like standing in front of her. And I, like I said, we have children in the building. And I said, well, just tell us to go away. And it'll go away. And so we just kind of just told it to go away. It just kind of just went away. And it was just, you know, really weird because it was just like she was attached to the little girl. It was attached. I said girl, but, you know, I think that mostly that's what they see is a little girl in here. But she just, you know, it just kind of disappeared. She was fine. We had one little boy, he was 9 years old. He was ghost hunting by himself. And we always ran around all the building. He'd stay in each room by himself with all his equipment. I'm like, you're crazy. I gotta have somebody with me. You know, but mostly in here you get like hugged or, you know, or I think a woman got scratched, on the ankle. And we think maybe it might have been the cat, possibly. But, yeah.
The major thing that happened in this room was down here on this end.
Everybody be careful. They keep moving those displays.
They keep moving stuff around.
As far as we're not falling everywhere.
But before the upstairs was finished, we used to do tours up here. For whatever reason, through the whole entire upstairs, there were no doors left hanging on the door jam. Now this door is a new door when I refinished it. So one of the original doors was hanging on the hinges. And there was a hump in the floor, just kind of behind where this rocker's at. And I'd just gotten in the habit of coming in and opening that door and shoving it up on that hump to keep it open. And one of the girls was standing in front of it talking one night, and all of a sudden that door flew off that hump and hit her on the foot. And she, you know, everybody just kind of stopped and looked. And there was a guy standing there in that window. He said, well, that's a pretty good trick. She said, Andy, I never touched that door. And she did. And I was looking right at her when it happened. And I don't know, a few weeks later, there was another girl come in here, and I'd opened that up with her, and she had her back to the door. And it come off that hump and hit her so hard, it almost knocked her down. And she screamed and ran out into the hallway, and she still refuses to walk through that door. Now, after that second time, I came over here and pushed it back on that hump, and I walked around that door. I jumped up and down, tried to get something to pop it off. Nothing happened. And of course, now we can't close it because there's chest there. And after the new door was put up there, I've stood in front of that door every tour since then, and nothing ever happened. So, I don't think they really liked those two girls when that door hit, because they were always making up stories, or they were telling them ghosts and light, what have you. But this room's been kind of active, you know, with hugs and stuff like that. So this is probably a room you want to hang out, spend a little bit of time in. All right, we're right out here in the hall.
I was like, "Well, are you your friend?" I'm going to say, yes. I'm like, okay. Everybody else except for me. Funny.
That stupid alarm. I hope we're not going to have trouble all night with that stupid thing.
Does that happen there?
Usually once he turns it off, it's done. You want to go right down and turn that off real quick?
I don't think police, I think they've got the alarm offline, it just goes off in here, so I don't think the police or the fire department or anything show up. I'll turn it off when we come downstairs. This hallway is kind of a place that you probably want to come up and spend a little bit of time in. We've had several things happen in this hallway. We had a silent auctions in here a couple of times during the year. We had some tables set up here silent auction items, and there were two women up here one day, and they were looking at the silent auction things, and one of them looked at the other one, and she said, "Do you hear somebody whistling?" She said, "Yes." So they left. They refused to come back up here and look at their things that they had bid on. They started calling their bids in because they wouldn't come back upstairs. We had a train show here during the day a 3 years ago, and there was a woman up here by herself, and she came around the corner, and in this hallway there was two women standing, and one of them was pointing at her, and her mouth was open like she was screaming, but there was no noise. So she went downstairs and she talked to the lady at the desk. She said, "Is this building haunted?" She said, "Well, there are people that think that it is." She said, "Well, I think it is, and you can tell the rest of the people with me, I'll be sitting in the car waiting." So now every time I walk through here, I think about that, and I think,
Oh, that was.
man, I do not want to turn around the corner and see two women standing there. This is where I got the "We Can't Bang on It," was in this hallway. The first year that we done tours here, we were in the room we just came from, and we had this guy here that claimed to be a channeler, and we were all looking at him like, you know, he had 3 heads or something. He had this spirit guide who had a name this long, some Indian, and he had dowsing rods, which, you know, I don't have anything against dowsing rods. We had crystals hanging all over him. He's standing in that other room, and they're wiggling around, and he says, you know, "If you are here, can you give us some sort of sign that you're here and make some sort of noise," blah, blah, blah. But we were all, the 4 or 5 of us, were all in that room. And all of a sudden, out in this hallway, I mean, it just, the loudest crash. And I ran out in this hallway expecting to see a ladder or something that had fallen over. And again, that was before the upstairs was finished. I got in this hallway. There was nothing in here that could have even fell over. It was completely empty. But yet, this is where the crash was heard. So, I don't know what it was. So, all right, we're going to go right in here.
Yeah, very polite.
So, thank you, she said you're welcome. She's very sweet, yeah, so.
English estate was William H. English, who ran for president, or ran for vice president in 1888. Didn't win, but he ran for vice president. So all this furniture came from that home. This is the black tub that we got the EVP get rid of them. And there's another one that's being stored in the shed. This is that black tub. What did they do with the mirror? Oh, it's right there. They moved it. That mirror is the mirror that was downstairs that picture was taken into. It's got the shadow person in it, or shadow child in it. When that mirror sat over here on this wall, we let a tour in through that door one night, and this guy's standing here and he's waving in that mirror. And his wife says, "Who are you waving at?" He said, "I don't know, whoever's back there in that room." Well, we had all came in here. And he said he could see a reflection in that mirror waving at him. So, but outside of that table that you see in the corner, that's the one that sat downstairs at the little shadow child looks like he's leaning on. That table sat right here where I'm standing at one time. We had, believe it or not, we rented the building out to a wedding party. And they had, the wedding was outside on the porch, and they were using this as the room for the brides and the bridesmaids to get ready. They said they were all standing at the other end of the room, and that table moved about 2 feet on its own.
Sounds like a good place to put this.
And that's
Yeah.
a very heavy table.
Freaked them all out. The table kind of tilted over after it moved. So as soon as I found that out, I come up here, and sure enough, it had moved, or it was moved, and one wheel was off of it. Except one of the rotors on it. And one of them had fallen off, but, you know, it's not gonna cause it to move 2 feet. So, and they come up, so we didn't touch that table, but it moved. We didn't move it.
So everybody knows that thing will pick up vibration, and see the blue lights, that's EMF. And if it gets high enough, it will beep. Then it shows you the temperature.
Will it? So that's the ambient temperature right now, 72 point, whatever it is. 89.
But if you see the blue lights, it's got an EMF reading. And if it gets high enough, it will alarm.
That's at M7 or something, ain't it?
Oh, you know, Ruby, man, they gotta do it all the time. I forgot to tell you, when this was acting as a Ford farm, everything in the front part of the building, downstairs and upstairs, was for the superintendent and his family. Everything in the back part of the building were for the inmates. That's what they were called. They weren't called residents. They were called inmates. The residents or inmates weren't allowed in the front part of the building unless they were told to do some sort of chore or something there. So why the superintendent got half the building, I don't know. But that end of the room was the superintendent's bedroom. This room, as well as the room across the hall, and both rooms downstairs, were divided into two. There was a wall that went across all the rooms this way. And so that end of the room was the bedroom. Watch, you got stuff sitting everywhere. It's going to be kind of hard to sit here. What's that?
It's all on the window.
Oh, shoot.
It'll take your...
There were, we've got records that show there were around 30 to 35 people here.
That's where I'm going.
And it, you know, probably just depended on what was going on with the economy, but we do know there was at least that many in here at one time, between 30 and 35. But anyway, this was the superintendent's bedroom. The room next door, this was the infirmary. So we know that this is where the sick are kept. This is the room that has medicine. So don't freak out when you come in here.
Okay.
Creepy one.
That's a homemade one somebody made before we moved. But now we have a lot of World War artifacts in here, World War I, World War II, and we believe that a lot of things have been brought into the museum as far as spirits. We kind of believe that spirits can become attached to certain things.
Oh, yeah.
So we kind of think that that's why a lot of times we get so much activity. Now, I will say this room, even though we know there were deaths in this room, is not a very active room. Other than we had one paranormal group that came in here and said they got 45 EVPs in here. I don't know if I believe that, but whatever.
It's possible, yeah.
Yeah, it's possible, but it's not.
If he didn't steal any of your antiques when he got here.
No, but he scared the crap out of everybody downstairs when he slapped the door down there. But,
Oh, I'm thinking of stuff. The Holly collector. Okay.
oh,
Yeah.
no, he's never been here. But there's only been a couple of things associated with this room. One time, Tracy came in here and said there was a real heavy kind of a medicinal smell, like iodines and that stuff, whether it's, you know, kind of a leftover remnant from when it was an infirmary. And I think that's been about everything. But I mean, it's worth coming in and checking just because of the artifacts that are in here. But
Do you know the history behind this picture? Do you know who that is?
we do not know who that is. It's just probably it's just an old photo that had blown up.
Was that anybody here?
What's that?
Did you not hear that?
I heard that.
I heard it.
I thought it was somebody. No, I thought it was something. So. No, there's something there.
No, something's been following us through the whole tour.
Yeah, it's me.
Since the moment.
No, not you.
No, since the moment we got here.
We know this is John Hunt Morgan, but that's
Mhm.
about it.
No, I heard something.
Whatever. This guy looks like he's in the 18th something.
In the Civil War.
Yeah, it's
Right.
Civil War,
Yeah, definitely.
but he's
The Union? I can't tell from
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like Union.
18th, might be 18th Indiana, I'm not sure. But,
I don't know whose eyes tell a story.
but anyway, like I said, not much goes on in here, but, you know, I wouldn't pass the room up just in case.
Yeah, 'cause I mean, just 'cause other people don't get anything, you guys make them and you're good.
All right, we're gonna go through
Right.
this little short hallway. Are you?
That was me, I just did that accidentally.
I thought it sounded.
Morning. What did you have? It's an action. When I was here, oh, you used to go, because we've never had anybody say Mia, so MIA must be missing in action.
Could be, could be. We've never heard of Mia, anything else. This room, which is now the restrooms, this used to be the only private room when it was a poor farm. This was where Mary lived. From all descriptions of Mary, she couldn't get along with adults. They said she got along fine with children. She loved the cats outside, but she couldn't get along with adults. Therefore, they gave her her own room. That way she didn't cause trouble with the other inmates at night. And at night, they locked her in this room. One of the elderly ladies still living here in town, her parents were superintendents here in the late 30s, early 40s. Her father always told her, if the building catches on fire, first thing you are to do is make sure somebody called the fire department. Second thing you need to do is make sure Mary's door is unlocked. So Mary didn't even rate top of the list, which is kind of sad. You know, can you imagine locking a patient or a resident in the room now? You know, what kind of trouble you get into. But Mary, according to a psychic that came and visited here one time, likes to manifest herself in a foul odor. We have had foul odors in the building. And not just here, we've had them in all parts of the building. Whether or not it's Mary, whether they've not necessarily been next to the restroom, so I can't say it's a sewer, but it is a very foul smell. We've smelled it in the gift shop. We've smelled it in the hallway downstairs at the foot of the staircase. Now, I haven't smelled it up here, but like I said, I don't know if that's really true, that's what a psychic told us. Mary's room, sometimes we've had people go in there and be touched, or their hair pulled, or something on that order. So we've had several people spend some time in that room and gotten EVPs and what have you. So that's a place you probably want to check out tonight.
Do you know how Mary showed up here?
Not really. She was here in late 30s, early 40s. So, that's not very long after the Depression, and maybe she just didn't have any place else to go. She had no other living kin or what have you, and maybe with the kind of problems she had, she wasn't able to work or, hold a job or anything. So, but we do know she died here. Like I said, we've got the obituary somewhere. But her last name was Phillips, and her name was Mary Phillips. And so we do know she died here. We had a woman working in the building one day. She came out of that back room and started down this hallway. And just as she got to the elevator, she said she was looking down and she saw what looked like a man's foot sticking out from behind this little short wall. And kind of stopped, you know, and looked again, and there was nothing. And she said other times she'd hear somebody walking in this hallway, like they were walking toward the door where she was working. And she would wait for somebody to walk in, and nobody would walk in, and she'd get up and look, nobody. And she heard that on several occasions. One day she heard it so often, she got spooked and just locked that room up and went downstairs. She said she just didn't want to be upstairs by herself anymore. So, a lot of times when I'm standing here talking, it's very noisy up in the attic. I haven't noticed it tonight. So, sometimes it sounds like somebody up there bouncing a ball. I mean, it's just that noisy. All right, we're gonna go.
I'm sorry, I have a question for you. You mentioned foul smell that people have reported. Usually that's just associated with demonic possession rather than ghostly or
Right.
normal paranormal.
Yeah.
And just, you know, through the conversation as we were speaking, I was getting EMF readings. Now, they were strongest right around the TV that I didn't notice here, but still standing over here. And now did you say that? And I come up with sacrifice. I've gotten glance. And then the first one, of course, I got right after we got done talking about the soldier was MIA. Oh, wrong.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
It said wrong?
Yeah, it's wrong.
Wrong. So it's not. Maybe,
I don't think it's
I don't know.
demonic, no.
We had a group came. They've been here a couple of times, and when the first time they came, you know, oh, we got this, we got that. And the second time they came, they said, we decided they're all demons here.
Yeah, they just said, everybody, it's all evil, it's all demonic.
Now, we've never had, outside of somebody getting poked or a scratch or something like that, we've never had anybody severely harmed.
Nothing violent.
Nothing violent ever happened here. We had one girl that came a couple of times and got deathly ill and had to be taken out of the building, but that's, who knows what caused that. Could have been just nerves.
Oh, I'm gonna go back downstairs now.
The crews are all locked. And,
Picks up EMF, picks up energy, and it also tries to translate the words.
for whatever reason, that part of the building that we're at now is not really active at all. And I don't know why this, behind this door used to be the women's sleeping room. And behind that door was the men's sleeping room.
This one was the women's.
This was the women's, and that was the men's. Even if you came here as a family, mother and father and a couple of children, you could not stay together. The women had their own sleeping room, the men had their own sleeping room, and the children, we were told, we don't know this for a fact, we were told they had to sleep in the attic. Now, can't really go in the attic because there's only the one staircase up, and the building is not sprinkled, so we can't let you go to the attic for safety reasons. You know, if the building were to catch up. She lived here, I think, during the early 30s, I want to say. But, so I thought it was a little more than a coincidence. You know, Carrie's not really a common name. So, I thought it was a little uncommon to be able to find a Carrie at all after we got that name. So, all right, we're going to go downstairs.
You know how, I don't know, never mind. But just came up with another word that right after you got done telling us that, which was wreck. As in wreck, like wreckage, wreck.
Like a wreck, like a car wreck?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's possible over around the phone.
Are we allowed to go into the women's and men's?
No, those are both storage, and they're chock full of stuff, and you just can't hardly walk in there.
Okay.
So, and like I said, we used to go in both of those areas before the upstairs was finished, and we never got anything there. I mean, nothing. And I don't know why. That just seems odd that all the activity on the upstairs is in the front part of the building and not the back.
Yeah.
For downstairs, it's kind of active all over.
Uh-oh. Got no one who's scared.
For
Okay, two's bled it a little bit.
All right, we're gonna go downstairs.
Your turn.
That was clear, it was good.
No, I didn't. That's the biggest temperature change I've ever felt in one building. Look at yours on down there.
Okay, I'm gonna go upstairs then.
Oh,
That's warm, I think.
I said earlier, this is where we got the one cat, recordings here. We got Carrie May on the, steps. We've had a full body apparition here in this hallway. If that door was open and the door to the other end of this hallway was open, you could look right into the, gift shop. And that's where we've seen, 3 different things from us, was in that room.
This was just,
Oh, go ahead.
is this where the inmates would use this staircase
Yes.
the most?
They used the back door and the staircase. They did not use the front.
Okay.
We did get a foul smell in this hallway once. But we are kind of close to the bathroom. I don't know if we can.
Right there.
All right, we'll go right back in here into this room. Okay, that one.
Is it?
Get the cat in here. Everybody, we get some straggler.
We have a couple people in the bathroom.
Oh, okay.
Potty break.
This room used to be the women's sitting room. Now it's, as you can see, the kitchen and slash office. There's a computer over there. In 1894, early in the year in 1894, there was a young girl, about, I think she was 18 when she was brought here. Her name was V.V. Mace. V.V. spelled just like the town over in Switzerland County. And from the things I've read about V.V., she couldn't speak, she couldn't really take care of herself. Every day, different women would have to take turns taking care of her. They'd make sure that, you know, she was up and dressed, and they'd take her to the dining room, which was across the hall, and make sure she got her breakfast. And then they would bring her into the women's sitting room, put her in a chair, and then they had to go out and do their chores. But November of 1894, they went through that routine. They brought her in here, left her in a chair, and the lady went out to do her chores. She came back in sometime before lunch to check on her. Dee had gotten up and opened the door to the wood stove. And I don't know exactly where the wood stove sat in here, but so the woman scolded her, closed the stove door, made sure she got back in her chair, and she went back out to do her chores. She came back in to get her for lunch. She walked into this room. The room was filled with smoke. Dee was in the floor on fire. She had opened the stove door and had started to take a piece of wood out of the stove and caught her clothing on fire. So the woman ran out, called for the superintendent and the other men, and they rushed in with buckets of water in case they needed to douse fires. The superintendent's wife threw open one of these windows and threw out a chair that was on fire. And the superintendent went directly to B.B. and ripped off what was left of her burning clothes. And he said after just a few seconds, she died. He had the women clean her up. He ordered a casket from the furniture maker up from the square. I brought it down here, put her in it, took her across to the Scottsburg Cemetery and buried her. Well, a couple of days went by, and the coroner got word and came up questioned the superintendent, told him, said, you know, you were supposed to notify us of any deaths. He said, well, you know, the girl didn't have any next of kin. I didn't know that. And so the coroner had her body exhumed and examined her and make sure that she had died of what they said she died of. And we have a photocopy of the handwritten coroner's inquest of that death. And Levy was listed. When they spoke of Levy in that coroner's inquest, they called her an idiot. And that's the way she was on the records, was an idiot. Because she couldn't take care of herself. So, is Tracy in here?
Sorry. No.
Go ahead. Go ahead and tell about that young girl in here.
We just started the tour. Of course, we didn't have told any stories yet or anything. And we were coming through the door, and she stopped at the door, and she said, did somebody get burnt in here? And I said, well, yeah, I guess, you know. She said, well, I can't go in there. And I said, well, you don't have to. And she says, well, the reason why I can't is because I got burnt when I was young. I said, oh, really? And she says, and I can feel it burning in my arm. And she pulled her sleeves up, and she was scarred all the way up her arms where she had gotten burnt. And she could actually feel like the presence, or whatever you would call a VV being burnt. She says, I just can't go in there. I thought, I thought that was kind of cool.
Tell about the little girl, the 12-year-old.
Oh, her mother was just standing there, and they were just enjoying the tour and everything like that. And the little girl kept going, go away, stop it, go away. And she said, what are you doing? She said, I can see a woman crawling toward me, and she's saying, help me. Or just like she was help. And I guess the girl was supposed to be sensitive, and she always would get this, you know. And she said her name's either Violet or something, and that was kind of weird, because like I said, we hadn't even started the story yet. Yeah. But she said she could see her just crawling toward her, like reaching, like, help me.
You're scared tonight.
Yeah, really. Look at all the stuff they see.
We had a guy in here one night. He was a total skeptic, and we got this point. And he told us earlier, he said, the only reason I'm here is because my wife wanted to come. He said, I don't believe none of this crap. And he was standing over on the other side of the room. I always made it a habit of coming right here and look out across that way. He was leaned up against that filing cabinet over there. He just leaned in there, leaned up on it. And all of a sudden, he reached around and he grabbed his back pocket. And his wife says, what's wrong with you? He said, nothing. She said, no. What's wrong? She said, I seen you grab your back pocket. He said, if I get this can of tobacco in my pocket, he said, it felt like somebody grabbed it. So he went out of here. He wasn't quite skeptic that he was.
We had a man that used to live here. That's what he liked, tobacco and stuff.
Yeah.
He was the last living resident here. This was 1973.
I tell you,
Yeah,
it's,
so he
we've
liked
had a lot of
tobacco.
skepticism, and they don't go home as skeptical when they do. I come in here one afternoon after work to do some work on that computer over there. Jeannie, the lady that's the director here, she come in, she said, Lynn, it's time to go home. She said, I'm going ahead and go. And I said, all right, I'm going to sit here and work on the computer. She said, well, I'll lock the door on my way out. So there's a chime on that door there in the gift shop. So every time you open it, you hear it. It's annoying as hell. And so I heard her go out, and 5 minutes didn't go by, and I heard somebody walking out here in the hallway. And I thought, well, I know Jeannie left her at the door. I got up, looked, all opened downstairs. I didn't go upstairs. Nobody out there. The door was locked. No cars in the parking lot, nothing. So I come back in here and went back to work on the computer. Not 5 minutes later, somebody walking out here in the hallway. So I didn't even get up and look that time. I said, okay, I'm going home. I shut the computer off and I turned the alarm on and went home. But I think that's been it in this room. Jeannie, I don't know if it's just residual from that fire that burned Vivi or not.
They've also heard screams before they opened the door, too.
Yeah, that was in another part of the building.
Yeah, too.
Her and another lady got here that morning, and just as they turned the alarm off, they heard a scream. And they were almost too scared to look around the building. But they said they didn't go upstairs either, but they did look around downstairs, and there wasn't anybody here. But it was just, she said it was just a blood-curdling scream.
It looks like there's a basement in here.
There's a very small basement. I don't think it's original to the building. I think it was probably put in when they, started heating the building with a boiler. But it's just got it's got the elevator electrical stuff in it and stays damp, and it's not very big at all. It's probably not as big as this room. And the door sucks. You know how to get it open. They're going to have to replace that door. But we've let a few people go down there, but they've never ever gotten anything. It's just
Too cold to do it.
yeah, it's too cold to do it.
It went.
Well, that's pretty much everything in a nutshell. We can do it a couple of different ways. We